Good evening, everyone. It's Thursday night, and yet here we are doing Tuesday Night Live again. Obviously, a special edition of Tuesday Night Live on a Thursday night, brought about by the fact that we had two of our three member rep nominees on Tuesday night, and we managed to track down a third. Paul Edginton was good enough to get in touch, and in the interest of equality and giving everyone a fair say and giving everyone the most information we can leading up to the elections, we thought we'd have him on for this special edition of CrowCast. So joining me tonight is Pete. How you going, Peter?
Good, Fane. How are you? And joining you from basketball training, so apologise if there's a few whistles and bouncing balls.
It just shows how flexible we are here at CrowCast. we can be anywhere and pull it off.
That's it.
And speaking of pulling it off, we've got Macca as well. How you going, Mac?
Oh, that's a lovely introduction, that is. And here I am, and being flexible, holding and hanging out for my dinner, but I'm here instead talking to you, Fee.
Oh, cry me a river, mate.
I know.
Look, you're not only talking to me, you're about to talk to Paul, so why don't we get right into it, with a bit of intro music. And as I mentioned, on Tuesday night we had Dan Kiley and Kim Ryder on the show talking about their respective platforms for the upcoming member elections or the board elections for the member representative. And we're very fortunate that we were able to get hold of Paul Edginton, who is the third member representative nominee. And he's been good enough to join us tonight. G'day, Paul. How are you going?
Really good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, fantastic, and I'm really glad that we've been able to give you equal air on CrowCast as well, just rounds it out. So, I guess without further ado, Paul, would you like to give us the elevator speech?
Sure. Thanks, guys. I've wanted to join the Crows board for forever, but I didn't really know what was involved in joining the board, though I've got lots of experience on boards. And a lot of my mates said, why would you want to do that? And it's not actually because I'm an absolute fan of the Crows. You'd have to be mad not to be. But I've reached a time, both in my experience and in my time with the club, that I feel like I've got something sensible to offer, something to offer on behalf of our fans and our members, but also for the players and some of the past players. And I think I've got something to add and exchange value. I'm sure I've got a lot to learn as well, particularly from our members, around how best to make our club, the club that we love, even better than it already is. And I already think it's the best club in the AFL.
Paul, Macca here.
Sorry about your dinner, Macca. I'm sorry it's going to go cold.
No, it's a takeaway tonight, mate. So we haven't even got it yet, so it'll be all right.
Good on you.
Don't give us that. Mrs. Macca's cooked up a spread, I'm sure. Come on, Macca.
That's tomorrow night. No, it's takeaway. I'm Vietnamese, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, Paul, back to the reality of life.
Yeah.
Just further, you said you've got something to add. What are the qualities do you think that you will bring to the board, and what do you think in turn are the qualities the board need the candidate to bring?
Yeah, great question. Look, I've been on a number of boards, particularly national ones, like I was on the board for a while for White Ribbon Australia. And I'm also, in my day job, I run a very sophisticated community organisation that does employment, training and housing for disadvantaged people. So I know what it takes to run and be part of organisations that have a diverse range of stakeholders and interests to look after. And that's really important to understand that it's not just that, us as members have a diverse range of opinions, but people around our club have a diverse range of opinions to consider. Our players and future players and past players have a range of opinions. So, and we, the Adelaide Crows, as a business of being a footy club, have a range of duties and expectations. So being able to manage all of those things takes experience. And I've got a whole range of those experiences in dealing with, whether it's dealing with government, dealing with business, dealing with corporate regulations and good board governance and rules. So I think that experience, I know Dan's a bit younger than me. I don't know how old Kim is, but I'd like to think that I'm the guy looking back at me in the mirror looks older than I feel, but I've certainly got a lot of experience that I can bring.
We can all relate to that here, mate.
Paul, just to carry that on a bit further, and it's certainly a theme that came through in both of our other interviews, was that there is this, I guess, being a representative of such a broad base of people, that it is an incredibly challenging thing to do, and certainly here that, obviously you've got your experience to draw upon. But on a practical level, what sort of thoughts do you have in terms of being able to, I guess, draw upon all of that diversity, and then try and be one voice at the board?
Yeah, this is a really important point, and I listened to the other fellas as well, and I thought they answered it really well. I think the first thing to remember is that this board position, there is 2 member-elect board positions, and it's easy to think that because they're member-elect board positions, that they're the positions that represent members' views, and it's really important for us as members to remember that every board member represents our views, not just the ones that we elect. Everyone is a member of the Crows, and they have a responsibility to reflect our views. But that being said, I think the member-elect positions have an extra responsibility to be connected with the grassroots of the organisation, and those of us who pay our membership, who go to all of the games. And it's important, it's not just the games here at home, but the games away. I've frozen mine and my family nearly to death at the MCG last year to only kick 4 goals and stay to the end of the game, and talk to the expat members who are not here as well. So staying connected with all of those views and opinions, and I think particularly those at the game, but also on all of the different social media forums as well. Just being across all of those and being able to distill those, I think that's something that, because I've got a lot of experience in having to collect a wide range of views and I guess represent them in a calm and sensible manner, not just responding to the noisiest one or maybe the most passionate one, but actually what are most people saying, and then not only what are they saying, but what actually are the solutions that we need to offer. I think a board member needs to come and not just point out what's wrong, but come along and offer solutions, not only for the board and the club, but also back to the members.
Has the club, when it's advertised calling for nominees, has it specified any particulars that it is expected of those candidates?
No, I haven't received anything specific as far as what they're looking for from a board member, but I had assumed, and as I said, I've thought about it for years and gone, I'm not experienced enough yet. I decided that I would run now because I think I've got the experience. I would hope that the board, I read the Constitution, I can see that the board does have to take 2 elected members, and I see that as a result of that, the board's not running a skills matrix per se, but it might be. I just haven't seen it, and I haven't been asked about it.
Yeah, that's really what I was going to, that because they've got a lot of bankers, they've got a lot of legal people, just wondered whether there were any other attributes that they were seeking in the candidates, to complement what they've already got.
Well, I think that's exactly what I've got to offer. That's maybe different from the other guys. I'm not from a legal background. I'm from a sector background where we deal with a wide range of stakeholders. I particularly have interest because we're more than footy now as the Adelaide Footy Club, with our esports, with the baseball, with the AFLW team, and with an older membership base. We need to make sure that our language and our thinking and our strategy is contemporary and is more than just where we came from. And that's really important. I've learned a great deal in my 17 years at SYC to be careful and considerate with my language. And it's easy. I love some of the footy talk and some of the banter at the games and all of that sort of stuff, but the world is moving on and expects more from all of us, and particularly representatives of the club, where we have more than just the blokes playing footy. And I think I can bring that experience to the board and to the club.
Paul, just with regards to your interactions with the club, and it's something we touched on with the other nominees earlier in the week. Obviously, if you were elected, you'd be entering a boardroom that was full of people who had been there for a long period of time. There's established relationships, established roles, I guess, and a fair bit of history. So just two questions on that. First of all, do you think, is it your feel, or do you have an opinion on whether the member representative position is a bit of tokenism on behalf of the club? And I guess following on from that, how do you feel that you'll be able to represent your own position in a way that gains any sort of traction at that board level?
Yeah, let me address the first one about tokenism. Any membership organisation has to have member-elect positions. I absolutely don't think that the Crows have this as a token position. I think this is and it certainly is from a legal director's standpoint, this directorship is equal to any of the other directorships, and I wouldn't be treating it as a token position. It is an equal position to any of the other directors, certainly from a fiduciary duty and a legal duty. In response to the second question, where you've got people that have been there for a while, established relationships, and perhaps some strong views, I'm no wallflower. I can certainly have had experience with certainly very robust conversations, whether it's in the political arena or in business, with big personalities and long established groups of people, where I'm quite happy to play the role of whether it's devil's advocate or the maverick, or just maybe sometimes the conscience, saying, is there a different way we could think about that, or is there a different way we can approach it? I certainly feel that I would establish my credentials and respect amongst the board members reasonably quickly with what I've got to offer. So I'm not concerned about that, but I think it is something that we should all be mindful of, to make sure that the member-elect representative can hold their own in that environment.
Yeah, absolutely, agree. And I guess following on from that then, considering it is a representative position, can you give us some sort of feel as to how you would go about ensuring that your own position or the position that you take on certain matters when you're presenting to the board or discussing with other board members is actually representative of the broader membership? What sort of means are you going to try and engage the membership with to try and make sure that you're representing a majority or some sort of mandate from the membership base?
Yeah, I think that that's such a risky question, because do we as members have a representative, or do we have a collective view? I think our views as members is pretty wide ranging. So I can't guarantee that I'm going to get that right for every member all of the time. But I'm a really good listener. I'm on most of the different forums, and certainly following a lot of things on Twitter, and a lot of our players and a lot of our member groups. I've been going to Crows games like you guys, and like the other like Dan and Kim as well. Whether I've been in the President's Club or sitting out in the stands, which is my usual spot, talking to people and getting a sense from week to week of how people are feeling, what they're seeing. I think it's really important to gain a general sense of how members are feeling. But also, I feel like I need to moderate that with what a lot of stuff comes through in the media. I'm pretty sceptical, I must say. It might not be popular or conventional to say this, but I'm pretty sceptical about the external media's view of our club and our players. I think they cause mischief quite a bit, and the aim of doing that, of course, is to knock us off our game. And sometimes they're successful at doing that. Sometimes we buy into that. So I think it's important that I understand, or whoever is representing us understands that the grassroots view and the general view of what our fans and members want, but also temper that with what sometimes the media, sometimes other clubs, sometimes Melbourne, trying to rev us up to think about. And so it's to take a calm approach to what members are saying, and not always be reactive to what the hot topic of the minute is, but generally
Paul,
what is good for our club.
Can I just chip in there? Yeah. You mentioned there that you're spending quite a bit of time already trying to sort of garner some of the sentiment out there of the fans. What would you, in the conversations and the obviously the research that you've done, what would you identify as the main issues that you want to, if you are elected, that you want to take to the board to and voice the concerns of the fans? What are the specific issues?
Well, I think specifically, what have we learned from last year? I think it's really important that we acknowledge that last year didn't go great, both as a club and both on the field, but also off the field with the pre-season stuff. I think you learn the most from what you don't get right. You don't often learn a lot from what you're getting right. And I want to know, and I know our fans do as well, what did we learn from last year, and how are we going to make that? How are we going to make ourselves stronger as a result? So how are we going to communicate better? How are we going to respond better? And also, how are we going to make sure that, or what can we do better to not get revved up all the way through the season? To win premierships, to win games, you've got to take risks. The trouble with taking risks is that when it pays off, you're a legend. When it doesn't work, man, you really pay for it. And we really paid. We took some risks last year. They didn't go well. We really paid for it. What have we learned from it? And they're the things that I want to take forward, and understand that, let's not go over it again, and let's not kill ourselves over it, but let's make sure that what happened we learn from and make sure we do better.
Yeah. Well, I think in one way you've answered the question I was going to raise with you, which was, we are very heavily vested in our own media, and therefore controlling what is being said about us from our point of view. But of course, that went very, very pear-shaped last year when we sort of shut the shutters. And I think you're actually saying that last year was put it very bluntly, it was a cock up, and that we could have done that a lot better, and perhaps saved a lot of the angst that occurred as a result of that.
Now, we were new at it, to be honest. Like we were pretty new at it. Having our own media channels was relatively new to us. We took it. We copped our first real pressure with our own media, And that's what I want to make sure we learn from. Like, what did we get out of that? I think it's fantastic that with our multimedia sports that we've got now, whether it's esports or baseball or the women's footy, as well as the men's footy, we've got to package this and we've got to get our messages out there in all of those forms in a sophisticated, future-orientated way. And we were new at it. That's happened. Let's make sure we can... I think we've got the opportunity ahead of other clubs who have had our feet held to the fire with our own media, and I think we can do heaps better if we gather all those learnings and do it better. I think we can get a leapfrog on the others with it.
Now, Paul, we did ask some questions of the other two that seem to be common themes across social media and a lot of different platforms. So very quickly, your views on these three issues. First of all, the club logo. Second of all, the cost of going to the footy. And what was the third one, Macca, that we asked?
Price of
beer. I was going to raise that, whether about moving headquarters to somewhere.
That's right. Having a club base closer to town, social base.
All right. Well, do you want me to start with the third one first? I think with the cost of things in Adelaide, we're going to have to do quite a bit of homework making sure we get that right, making sure it's viable. But I think a venue in the city, with the way the city works when there's footy on, I think that's just a winner. Imagine sitting there with a Crows museum, with being able to have a meal, have a beer, watch the footy with other Crows fans during footy season, and especially when we're playing away or the finals. Can you imagine how great that would be? I would worry about it during the summer period, and I wouldn't want that to be a drain on the club. So we've got to do some homework into how we make that work for us. The second question, remind me, but the second one.
One was the logo, one was the cost of going to the footy.
And the cost of going to the footy, which I think we're in a funny situation. What a high quality problem we have as a footy club, that so many people want to go to the footy, that we've got limited tickets to sell, which puts the price up. That being said, boy, that works against the grassroots as well. It's a real paradox for us. Footy is becoming a really expensive thing to take your whole family to, particularly when your 11-year-old's got his stadium money and he wants to go off and buy chicken nuggets at every quarter. So it's a real worry. I think we need to think about how we can make sure the club is really commercially viable in all its aspects, and try and keep those prices as reasonable as we can, given the laws of supply and demand. At the same time, we want to make sure we're getting the most value from the most people going to the games.
And a quick one on the logo: keep it or chuck it?
Oh, mate, I know you guys don't necessarily like it, but I like it, and I like I like where it came from. You know, it came
Baltimore
out
Ravens.
No, I don't mean that part. I mean the time that it came out. It was the Phil Walsh time. That's a part of it was a part of our history that we will always remember, and I think it brought us together at that time, and I think it stands for that. I think the logo is just, to a large extent, a brand device. I think what it says and how it's a part of our history and our culture, I think it's important. Some people like it, some people won't. For me, it has a connection that's special, and therefore I'm a bit biased towards liking it, I've got to say.
I'd have to say, Paul, I'm in your camp on that, but I do appreciate that there's a lot of other people that don't. But I'm in Paul's camp on that one.
Well, look, Paul, it's been fantastic to have you on tonight. I think you've represented yourself very well. You've provided clear and concise information to the faithful about where you stand on things and your attitude towards things, as well as giving us an insight into your background and your overall suitability for the role. And I think most people listening would agree that you're just as capable and just as qualified and just as passionate as the other two members. So you haven't made it any easier for people, I don't think. But look, thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate it, and we're happy to have you on at any stage, as with the other two during the season. And irrespective of the result, we wish you all the very best.
Thank you. I really appreciate you making the time to speak to me. I really do appreciate it. And Macca, I hope you enjoy your Vietnamese.
Oh, I'm going to, mate. I'm having canned prawns with vegetables and cashew nuts, mate.
Good on you, mate. Well done.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
mate.
you, guys.
Catch you later.
Cheers.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
Okay, and that was our final interview of the three-part mini-series, the three-part interview process for the member representative nominations. It's been great to have all three on board. I think that Macca and Pete, I think you'd all agree that I think Pete's ducked out because there's far too much basketball going on. But Mac, I think you'd agree that all three really represented themselves very well. It's not an easy choice.
Yeah, I was going to raise that very, very point. I think we're very fortunate that there are three candidates, and I think they're all three of them are quality candidates. And often you get people nominate for these positions that aren't suitable for it, but I think any one of these three seem to be suitable, and I think the board are going to have a difficult time if they do. I don't know whether they're doing it are they doing it by member voting?
Yes,
or are
member
they doing
vote.
it by...
It's you log on to the AFC website and follow the links, and you place your vote online. And I think the deadline is next Monday. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's next Monday. But the Adelaide Footy Club website's got all the information.
Well, to all those who are listening out there, I'm sure that you probably may have worked out in your own mind who you're going to vote for. But I know that one thing for sure, whoever you're voting for, I think we're going to have a good candidate. So
agreed.
I think Phoenix has done a mighty job in getting these three guys on board so that we could actually hear what they are going to have to offer. And it also will help you with your voting, that you're actually not voting for a name, you're voting for somebody who you've heard talk and you've heard their opinions, you've heard what they plan to bring to the board and what they would hope to get as a result of that. So I think it's been outstanding, really, and well done, Fee.
Yeah, well, look, thanks, mate. And look, it's just really important. It's the first time, really, that I think we've had genuine member representatives nominate. In the past we've had Rashido and Jamo and, great stalwarts of the club, but this really is the first opportunity for members of the Crows to have a genuine member representative on the board. I think it's really important that those blokes have an opportunity to put their views across and put their nomination forward, and it's been valuable, I think. So well done to everyone, and we'll just about wind it up there, I reckon, Mac. We're back next Tuesday with our preview with, and I think I can name the name now, we've got Lee Gaskin joining us next week to help us preview the season leading up to the first JLT, which I think starts for us next Friday or Saturday.
And that's a bit of a coup in itself, Fee.
Yeah, well, Lee's a long-time listener, first-time caller.
Very good.
But no, he's kindly put his hand up to come on and give us his learned insight. So that'll be a really good show next Tuesday night. Make sure you join us. Obviously, we'll be wrapping up the AFLW as well and having a general chat about all things AFL. But until then, Macca, thanks for giving up your tea time. I've given mine up too. Thanks, Peter, if you're listening out there in basketball land. It was good to have him there, and thanks to all three candidates. And we will wrap it up there. Have a good weekend, guys, and we'll see you next Tuesday night.
Yeah, good night all.